start. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 19th, 2020 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my right is our Vice President, Gary Merrill, and my left, fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis, and Sarah DeNova is our clerk today, so we can begin.
Resolution number 20-1033, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held November 16th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-1033. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1034, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants and batch number CMA-PR 1118.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-1034. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1035, in the matter of acknowledging receipt of annexation petition from the agent for the petitioner, Michael R. Shade, attorney at law, requesting annexation of 78.017 acres of land in Berlin and Berkshire Townships to the village of Sunbury.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-1035. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution numbers 20-1036, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriations for the Delaware County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
Morning, Commissioners. Sean Miller, Director, Delaware County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And for your consideration this morning, this transfer is part of our EOC update project, and it's part of our existing budget for the project. We're trying to wrap it up before the end of the year, and I believe it will be a great benefit to the county once it's done. Included in this particular aspect of the project is technology update, and our existing technology is fairly out of date, and so the EMA board, I think, recognized this at the beginning of the year, just prior to the COVID pandemic, of course, and so it's taken a little bit longer than what we had anticipated, but we should be able to wrap up the major aspects of the project before the end of the year. And so with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
all right, vote.
Just one thing. Could you also explain, this is separate from this resolution, but the DACC
Sure.
cooperation that you're working together with them, and I mentioned it the other day, but I think you can even explain it better.
Sure, I'd be happy to. One of our longtime volunteers is a cybersecurity instructor at the Delaware Area Career Center, and in some conversations with him, he felt that this EOC update project, his students might be able to benefit from this and also benefit the county from this, because they are able to spec out some of the equipment for us, and the equipment involved with this transfer was spec'd out through his students under his supervision, of course, and we've coordinated with Delaware County IT on it as well. And so it's a way that the students at the Career Center can get some real-world experience speccing out equipment for a government public safety agency. And once we purchase the equipment, the students will be able to program it off-site because of concerns with them coming on-site with the pandemic. But they'll be able to program it off-site, again, under their instructor's supervision. And the students are very excited about it. And I think that it truly represents a win-win both for emergency management and the students. And so once it's done, we're going to try to recognize their efforts, but it should give them some good real-world experience to help them as they move along in their education, their careers.
Great, thank you.
That's neat. All right, Sarah, vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-1036. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye,
Thank you, Commissioners.
thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Resolution number 20-1037, in the matter of reappointing a member to the Delaware County Finance Authority Board of Directors.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This is Sarah DeNovo. We will be looking to reappoint Bill Bishop to another 4-year term. He has graciously agreed to serve on that board.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to just publicly thank Bill Bishop for doing this. He's done an outstanding job of leading that group. And being on that for another 4 years will just make that group that much more effective. So it's great that he's willing to re-up for another 4 years. And so I want to thank him and congratulate him.
He's been a good member.
Yes, he really
Yeah,
has, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-1037. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1038, in the matter of appointing members to the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Sarah DeNovo again. This resolution will reappoint David Mosier and Howard Heffelfinger to another 4-year term, as well as appoint Brian Lorenz to a new 4-year term.
Okay.
Just have, I know Howard and David have been very, very good members of the board, and I hear nothing but good things about how involved they've been and the role they've played. And it's good always to hear that good people are re-upping. And then, of course, we'll have a new board member in Brian Lorenz.
And we had some really good people step forward to interview too, so we want to make sure we keep their interests, whether it be on this board or other boards.
Yeah, and I think we had, which is always good when you have good candidates, and unfortunately, when you have good candidates, you have to make choices.
That's, yes.
And so hopefully, those who were successful will look at other opportunities down the road.
Yeah, we're seeing that consistently now. A lot more people are applying for these board seats, which is just phenomenal.
Right,
because they're really
right.
good candidates, and we're getting just really great members of these boards that we appoint to, so.
Yes.
All right, vote, Sarah?
Vote on motion 20-1038. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1039, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations in advance of funds.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Karen First, Fiscal Manager. The supplemental appropriations are needed so the treasurer and auditor fees can be posted for the collection of the special assessments, and the advance of funds is needed to cover the bond payment that's due on
These
December
are huge
1st.
dollar figures here.
Yes, some of them are, yes. We budget, but it's kind of a guessing game, so we're going back in and making the adjustments now, so.
All right. Vote?
Vote on motion 20-1039. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
That brings
Thank
us
you,
to
Karen.
administrator reports.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dawn Houston, Deputy Administrator. As you know, we have been talking with leadership at the Humane Society about a potential partnership between them and our dog shelter for our shelter operations. And we heard back this week from their board, one of their board members who has indicated that if we are moving forward with looking at this and assessing, they're recommending that we jointly go through a needs assessment. They would essentially partner with us on that needs assessment and split the cost, which is estimated to be $10,000. And if for some reason we decide that this is not going to be suitable for them or for the county, then they would reimburse the county for the cost of that assessment. But they basically would be looking at their current facility, which we know, if we do enter into this partnership, would not be large enough or suitable for them taking on our dogs that we seize or have to house. And it would look at space, it would look at location, and then all the things that come along with the needs of the dog shelter as well as the Humane Society in terms of overall operations. So we would like to move forward with that. This is something that administratively, at this point, we can move forward. It would not take a resolution. At some point, though, we may need to come back and talk with you all in terms of whether or not, a resolution would be needed as things move forward. So right now, we're still in a very preliminary basis with all of this, but in order to move forward most productively, it would require this needs assessment. So we just wanted to let you know that.
I think it makes sense. I know Commissioner Merrill's been working on this.
Yeah, my comment on this would be, one, we talk about, Commissioner Benton, Commissioner Lewis and I talk about partnerships all the time, and it's really the opportunity that exists here is an opportunity because, frankly, a lot of people don't make the distinction between what we do and what the Humane Society does, and we're having these conversations that are hopeful, and we'll find out. I think it's a very reasonable request.
Oh, absolutely.
And to offer to reimburse us if it doesn't go through is more than generous. And I would fully support it.
Oh, me too.
And I would also add too, we have a very good relationship with the Humane Society. Our dog shelter staff works regularly with them. Most dogs that are adoptable are going to the Humane Society anyway. But, there are additional dogs that they would have to take on if we were to enter into this partnership.
Good.
Thank you.
It's encouraging. What kind of timeline on this, Don?
Good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long the group that's doing the assessment will take. I'm not sure if that has been communicated to you, Commissioner Merrill.
It has not been. I think this is a group that does these kind of studies for humane societies around the country, so it's probably a template they'll work from, so I wouldn't think it'll
It shouldn't take too long, I wouldn't
can't
think.
speak to that. 60
Right.
days maybe, I really know.
That's something we could get back with you on.
I think the purpose of it is to find out how much more room they need than they currently have, so they have some idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, and then we would need to work through logistics in terms of, the staffing and how that works, because our charge is really more enforcement of the revised code when it comes to dogs in the community. And, we just need to figure out who's going to be doing what. We've had preliminary discussions in terms of that. But that would also be another step once we determine whether or not we can proceed with the actual space and the upgrades with that.
Great. Good. I think this will be interesting to follow.
Yeah, it will. It will. The other thing I was going to mention too, you probably saw the email that I sent earlier this week about the Smart Shopper program. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. It's a new program that SEBCO has brought about for employees and their covered dependents, that if they are having some type of medical procedure or need something done medically, that they could contact this company and they would provide them with the most cost-effective place for them to go. Also would look through providers and make sure that the employee is comfortable or the dependent is comfortable with whatever provider they would be going to. And then the employee receives a check from the Smart Shopper program for the cost savings to our overall plan. So this hopefully will help keep our health insurance costs down. And I'm hoping that employees will definitely look into this a little further and take advantage of this opportunity. All the funds are paid by Smart Shopper. It doesn't go through the county, so it would not be considered a taxable fringe benefit. So it's really a win-win, I think, for the county, for SEBCO, and for all of our covered employees and their dependents. So.
Yeah, again, SEBCO, we deliberated on this over a few months. This is not a new program in the U.S. It is, I think there's 1,200 or 1,300 entities that use this program, so it's not anything new or untried or untested, and the results from all these other organizations that implemented it were very positive, resulted in savings. And it is remarkable, one thing we learned is the difference in costs among the various providers. I mean, it can be 200-300% in some cases difference. So it's just logical that we give the employees the option, not forcing them, to go to another very well qualified, these are all qualified, approved providers, and save the county money, save SEBCO money, and then have a little incentive for the employee as well. So.
And I think part of just establishing the habit, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else.
Habit is a
because
big
typically when you, let's say you're in front of your doctor and your doctor makes a recommendation, you want to trust that doctor, and the last thing you want to do is kind of question it. So establishing the habit of asking the questions or looking at the options, I'm certainly guilty of it. And I won't speak for my fellow commissioners, but so I think it'll be a good thing for all of us.
I do too. I do too. All
We'll
right.
see. Encourage everyone to participate. It starts January 1st.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Thank you. That's all I
Okay,
have.
thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Commissioner Merrill,
I
comment?
really don't have anything other than just a reminder of regional planning tonight and virtual meeting, and that's all I have.
Your favorite.
My favorite.
Commissioner Lewis.
And just to report on Bridges Community Action again, they had a survey last year, and the top 3 concerns of people who use the agency were, number 1 was energy costs, number 2, finding affordable housing, number 3, job opportunities. 4th was actually healthcare and prescription drugs. So.
I do have one other thing. I've been amazed at the amount of positive response regarding our resolution on Monday. It's been substantial.
Yes.
Yes, I would agree. I've received a lot
Yes.
of positive comments.
And I just thought of one thing, too.
Sorry, your time's up.
Sorry. Yeah, I
No,
don't speak.
Go right ahead.
Yeah. I did get a call from the governor's office the day after we issued the resolution, and they said that they wanted us to know that the governor had received the resolution and read it and was aware of our concerns. So I thought that was nice, the personal follow-up. So, and I know we had emails to that effect, too, so.
Yeah. Yep, and I think his directive is much more measured, the 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew is really not a huge deal, since most people are home anyway during that time period. So I think he understands better the issues we raised and is not being as draconian as we were last spring. So that's good to see. That it?
That's, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Library had the groundbreaking yesterday for their new branch in Liberty Township. It's really going to be a nice facility, particularly for that part of our county. Land Bank, we had our meeting yesterday, and we interviewed 5 brokers, 5 very qualified, very, very interested brokers for selling the old jail. So very encouraging. That will move forward, and the brokers are very interested in working on that, and they understand it's not just the highest price, it's the highest price in conjunction with a good user, for long-term for that historic building. So very, very encouraging.
What's the timetable on that, then?
Well, I think what we're going to do is announce the selection of the broker in December 16th is our next
Okay.
meeting. And at that point, broker will list it and
Okay,
entertain offers, and
okay,
we'll move forward from there. And it'll be a more traditional,
yes,
marketed and then negotiated and closed
Okay.
transaction.
okay,
But, we'll be involved all along.
Right.
So it is a proper use and yet a
Sure.
good return of dollars for the
Sure.
county.
oh, good, okay.
So, yeah, very, very encouraging. There is also legislation that's being proposed I think it's in the House, that would extend the virtual meeting, again, Commissioner Merrill's favorite form of meetings these days, would extend the ability to hold meetings virtually for governmental organizations.
And I think that
It
just
expires
passed.
December 1st. Has it
Yeah,
passed?
it just passed. It passed the House, and then it goes to the Senate.
Okay, I think there's broad support.
I'm sure the governor.
So I think it'll at least be
Yeah.
extended, and I think they're going
Right.
to look at making all of it or some of it permanent. So
Oh, are they?
That'll be
Okay.
interesting to see how that goes forward. So certainly a supporter of, in general, virtual, having the right to do virtual meetings. Makes things more efficient in general. May not be as friendly or as easy, but
Sure.
it does make it quicker in many cases, more efficient. Okay, I think that's it. We do have the MORPC
Correct, at 10 o'clock.
at 10 o'clock is the MORPC
Right.
call.
We should have plenty of time to discuss the employment option.
Okay,
So we'll go into executive session.
yeah. So we're going executive for the first.
Yeah, let's
reading.
do that.
Okay. Resolution number 20-1040, in the matter of adjournment into executive session for consideration of employment of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1040. Mr. Burrow?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. All right, we are now in executive session. Yep.
Resolution number 20-1041, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1041. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. All right, we are back in session. It is November 19th, 2020, and we are going to hear from our friends at MORPC. Oh, there we go. We can't hear you yet. Hi, Eileen. We can't hear you either. We're working on it. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Hello.
Good morning, Eileen.
Good morning. So we're wondering if we should call it up on our screen here.
Can you see us?
The presentation, I see the share right there, but when I press it, it says Moses disabling screen sharing.
Yep, hang on. The expert is coming. We'll solve this.
All right. I'll be right back.
So I'm wondering, yeah, so you're obviously seeing me. So I'm wondering if I could bring it up here instead of you seeing. Yeah, but how would you like us to do this? We wanted to put it up so we could show it and see what we're looking at. Your screen, it's an empty screen, it doesn't have a presentation.
They have it in front of them, and we have it here on our board, so
Is it on your board?
it's not on, we have it on a PowerPoint on our computer, off of a thumb drive.
So if we could just see that and then someone advances it, that would work also.
I don't know if you can see it or not, because we don't have our technical guy down here with us.
Okay. I am seeing a camera that's a corner of the desk.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix that, but I can only do one thing at a time.
Sorry about that. We also be happy to walk through the slides we have. You know, we could walk through that. We don't give if you have a hard copy or you can advance it.
We have a hard copy and we have this,
Copy, and they've got it up on their screen.
yeah, we have it on the screen too.
Just walk through the presentation, we can hear each other.
Sorry, I muted her on accident.
Sarah.
Eileen, can you hear us?
Yes, yeah, I have it.
Why don't you go ahead and get started?
Okay. So why don't, we have the slides in front of us. So if it's okay, if you have them in front of you, we'll just talk through it that way.
That works.
Also have the screen.
Right there?
Yes. The commissioners, can you not hear the commissioners?
No, sorry.
Can you call Ron?
Now she's throwing stuff. Uh-oh, it better not fall on you, Sarah.
Sarah, we're just glad we don't have to figure this out.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
We're glad the pressure's on
don't
you.
worry, don't worry.
So you can't hear us?
I can, now you're kind of in a group, sort of. But if you have the slides in front of you, we'll be glad to just talk through them real briefly.
Yes, that works. We have the slides in front of us
Yeah.
and we have hard copy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, we're just here. I'm gonna let William go ahead, and William, if I type in, it'll be better. Go ahead.
Of course. Well, commissioners, good morning. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
We can hear you fine, William.
Great. Well, wonderful. Well, we appreciate the chance to do this virtually. I know this is such an unusual up and down time with the virus, and we trying to keep everybody safe. So we appreciate the chance to do this. You know, we'd much rather be in front of your dais, right there with you. So hopefully our next meeting will be that way. But we didn't want to wait until we had the chance. We didn't want to wait for a chance to talk to you. So if it's all right, I'll just go ahead with an update. And,
Please.
Happy to take questions at any point. Just interrupt.
Yep, please go ahead.
For purposes of your meeting, of course, I believe we're up with the Delaware Regional Planning Commission. You know us as MORPC, and we so appreciate Delaware County. You are definitely one of our most engaged, active communities in the region. You're leading the region. You're leading our work at MORPC, pushing us to be better, and we appreciate that. It means a lot to us. We know recently that you, as a tradition, continued your rigorous process for appointing representatives to our board. And although we wish Pat the best in his retirement, we're very excited about Mr. Rivers joining the board and bringing his connections to the Delaware County Township Association and more. So we appreciate you doing that through a best practice for communities across Central Ohio. And of course, Commissioner Benton, we appreciate your ongoing leadership on MORPC's executive committee to keep us serving you well. So I'm going to walk through the presentation. We have a couple of updates on resources and things we just want to make all of you aware of. So if you have it in front of you, I'm going to go to that first slide where it talks about return on investment. We take this very seriously, just like a business would or a chamber of commerce. We want to make sure every community gets a sense of what their investment in MORPC gets back to their citizens and their businesses. So we do that every year. We look at direct benefits and indirect benefits. offer so that for those families in the city of Delaware or elsewhere in the county, they have access to this. And so on the next slide, you'll see that the thing that we need right now is families can sign up directly. We've talked to many of the school districts, many of them are participating, but there's still capacity. Families can sign up directly. Even if their school district has already provided them a computer, we know for some of these families, extra internet support and extra computer could be a lifesaver for jobs or for the families. So anything we can do to get the word out about that program is helpful. Transitioning to our work with federal and state advocacy for local governments, we've been working to make sure we're getting all the legislative updates, press conference summaries, flyers, those kind of things to you. We've got a great legislative services team. We just finished our public policy agenda draft. This year's committee was led by Mayor Shuffler from Lancaster. It was a committee from folks across the region that looked at the different things that MORPC members can agree on. And that's where we want to push at the state and federal levels around transportation, around regionalism, things like data infrastructure and broadband. Very immediately, in the next slide, we're looking at LATEA priorities. And we've issued this document because, as we all know, the state legislature can move really quickly in that period between election day and inauguration days. So we're looking at things around broadband. We know that Representative Carpania in Delaware County has been a leader in broadband, making sure that that bill gets through. We're looking at capital apps for local governments, things like distracted driving. We're looking at the federal level for extension and flexibilities for communities that need it. So there's a whole host of things. We're very active in this space. If you know our legislative services director, Joe Garrity, he's not getting any sleep right now. He's pretty busy. A couple of other resources for you. The next slide. For Delaware County, you have access to brownfield grants for assessments. So your economic development folks, your CIC, if you need an assessment on an old gas station or a laundromat or in
there, Sarah?
It stopped because it has some feedback.
Oh, it's like you have to touch it or something.
Ways we can be better.
Okay.
Perfect.
We lost you for about 20 seconds there, so. But
With that, Commissioners, we appreciate you so much and are happy to take questions or suggestions.
sure, open it up. Commissioner Merrill, Commissioner Lewis, questions for William or Eileen?
Gosh.
Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing us an update. It's always good to
Yes.
hear.
I don't really have a question, just a statement you've heard before. Big Bullet Interchange and 36, 37, those are two extremely important projects, and obviously Morpsey can play a role in helping us with those. So that's just a statement and stating the obvious, and we've had that conversation before.
Yeah, and kind of to expand on that, I mean, those are two really critical projects for us, but the second interchange at 36, 37 is especially critical because that enables the Berlin Business Park, which is a 2,000 acre, probably 10,000 plus jobs created, you know, the right jobs, the right location, the right industries. It will enable that to really develop because it's fairly limited until we get that second interchange. And that's the sort of business park that will benefit, obviously, not only Delaware County, but the whole region. And it's primed, we're ready to go almost. We're still working on some zonings, but we're just about ready to go. And that makes the 36, 37 project that much more important for us and us as county and the region.
Thank you, Commissioners. We recognize that importance, and you know that our recent forecast in September showed Central Ohio still on track to grow to 3 million people in the coming decades. And they're going to need places to work, they're going to need places to live, and so we know those are going to be critical to helping get in front of that. So as always, we'll make sure those are priorities for us.
Yeah, it's interesting, the regional economic development plan or organization, I think that's an interesting topic. Maybe you could just talk a little bit more about that. I'm not that familiar with that, you know, that you're working on creating here in Central Ohio.
So the Regional Economic Development District, so this is something that One Columbus, formerly Columbus 2020, had tried to pursue a number of years ago, but was unsuccessful for a number of reasons. And so as we've gotten more involved in economic development and supporting them, we decided to work together to go after this designation, because typically with the federal government, they work with entities like Morpsey because we're MPOs and we have these other federal relationships. And so over the last few months, we've been able to update the comprehensive economic development strategy with One Columbus and then apply for this designation. The reason it's important is because it opens up extra resources for businesses and local governments, things like revolving loans, special grant opportunities, technical assistance. If we had this in place earlier this year, the region could have received significant extra dollars for recovery planning for COVID-19 reopening. So we're working really diligently and quickly to try to get this designation for the region for the first time. And that would serve the 11 county districts, including Delaware County, that One Columbus serves and that Morpsey also overlaps with. So we're pretty excited about that opportunity. And with the new administration and new Congress, there could be new opportunities as they're looking for recovery, because folks typically look to these they're called EDDs for recovery type efforts. So we want to be right there first in line for the region to make sure we're giving everybody the resources they need, especially for businesses, smaller businesses trying to recover from this. I know we're all very concerned about it, so all hands on deck if we can open up additional resources with that.
What kind of,
We featured your entrepreneurial center as one of 5 in the region, and our team came up there, videoed them, toured it, ate at Buns. We love Buns. We want to be back on the road touring around again.
Good.
We did enjoy great partnership with your local university right there.
yeah, it is. It's a really neat venture. William, on the EDD, what's the timeline on something like that being created, would you say, at this point?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the timeline, typically, since it's a federal entity, and I want to be we've pushed very hard to get us on a fast track, and what that means for them is we're hoping to have an updated, what's called comprehensive economic development strategy early in 2021, which sets us up for the designation potentially in the first or second quarter of 2021. In their words, we're moving extremely fast. We're trying to go through the correct hoops, but we're pushing them pretty hard to get that done. So I would anticipate 2021, we will have this document in place.
Okay. One final question for me. I know the legislature is working on extending the virtual meeting capabilities. What are you hearing? Because December 1st, it sunsets, and it looks like it'll likely be extended, but what are you hearing?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So just yesterday afternoon, this cleared the Senate, and we're expecting it to concur with the House perhaps as soon as today. What that means is they're looking at an extension through July 1st, and then a 30-day period for local governments to make the transition back to in-person if they need it. The idea is to temporarily extend it to give folks the flexibility to get through. So we're very optimistic this will be in place as an emergency measure, and supported by the governor, it could be in place well in advance of the December 1st deadline, so that if you need to remote flexibility, you have it. One thing that we get asked a lot is, well, a number of local governments find this flexibility helpful and may find it helpful in the long term. And I think we agree with a lot of folks saying, hey, you know what, we're in a state of emergency, let's just extend the flexibility first. But in the longer term, we think that local governments may want to deploy these tools more often or in different ways. Not as an exclusive place, we very much believe in the power of meeting in person. But it's helpful sometimes, especially we've noticed with public engagement. We have a lot more people logging into our meetings than we've ever had coming in person. So we figure once we get through the crisis, we'll work with other local government partners like CCAO and the cities and villages and townships to see if we can get some more permanent authority. But hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully we'll have news within a day or two.
Oh, okay, good to hear. Commissioner Lewis, question or comment?
Hello. Hi. I'd like to thank you for your work on affordable housing. We started an affordable housing coalition here. I think it's just been a year, and our executive committee meets every month, and then we have a larger group, which is really composed of many stakeholders, but we've learned a lot through your strategies, and Barb Lyon actually is the unofficial chair of that group, and of course she's been working too with MORPC as your strategy development goes along, and really appreciate the report that you put out on strategy, and the virtual meeting on that too, because and I have my book that I haven't read it yet, but one of the I forget who it was, who was the expert on housing who spoke at the virtual meeting. But anyway, thank you, and you've given us some good guidance. It is a challenging proposition. It really is, but there are ways to do it, so we're working very hard on that. But thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. This has been a priority for so many of our communities. And this isn't just about the lower end of the spectrum. And we all know there's middle market housing that's missing. One thing we're going to be doing early in 2021 is we're going to be asking our local governments in strategic sessions about, well, what else can we be doing? What other resources do you need that we can go after? So you'll be hearing more about that.
Great.
But anything you need on this, please let us know. We're happy to do more presentations or walkthroughs of the toolbox if it's helpful.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay. Gary? Okay. I think that's it from our end, William and Eileen. Thank you both very much for the update and ongoing work. Appreciate the partnership and everything that's looking down the road for us. We're working together on a lot of good things. So again, thank you.
Very good.
Hope-
Thank you.
Yep,
Yes,
You
you
too.
too.
And happy Thanksgiving.
that's right.
Yes.
I won't be standing on your podium there. So.
Yeah, hopefully next, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Jennifer, or Sarah, I guess. Sarah's running back and forth a lot.
We can go into recess till we need executive again. You done?
That sounds good to me. Recess, so we will go into, it's 10:34, we'll go into recess until 11 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
we're now in recess. All right, we will reconvene the November 19th, 2020 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. And Sarah, if you could read the resolution going into executive session, please.
Resolution number 20-1042, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of appointment of a public employee or public official.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1042. Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in executive session again.
Resolution number 20-1043, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second, discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1043. Mr. Merrill is absent. Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
All right, we are back in session, and now we are ready to adjourn. So as Commissioner